Welcome to Community Weaving. For those of you that may fall into this recording later, this is a place where we intentionally and courageously figure out how we might connect in truth, unabashedly, masks off, because this is association. We can have really wonderful missions. We can agree to things. And we don't have to be close. And that's not bad. We just need to be clear that this is association. This is community. And the invitation, if we are going to use this word, is to do this, is to get to know each other when we're a mess, when our stuff is shaky. We are not going to be being careful with each other, because ultimately community develops the capacity to be with what is, which is the central point of the Dharma and all wisdom traditions. So I am Ayesha, Shameless Majesty. And so I am of a stolen lineage on stolen land of the Piscataway, among others. And they're what people are calling Baltimore, Maryland. So before we go on, I always want to invite us to take a breath and maybe hug ourselves and appreciate the fact that we are alive and we are here. Some people were alive this morning and didn't make it to this evening. And it is the conceit of this world to make us forget that we might fall into fear and out of gratitude. So taking a moment, I don't care if you broke something, if, maybe you were indelicate with a neighbor, or perhaps even indelicate with yourself. In this moment, just appreciate that you're here. And you might want to rest in the truth that nothing is wrong with you. So, the rules for this evening, as we go forward, we not late, we not wrong, we not sorry. I know we have been encouraged to embrace this stuff, but this comes out of an inhuman construct, and here we're going to support each other to be in some level of recovery from that. And with that, I would like to invite all of you to check in and share, one of the things about this path, we don't have to give up the good stuff we've learned along the way so that we can envision some pristine doingness of practice, that's not muddied with the fact that we've been alive and learning stuff. I'm encouraging us to let that go. What I am encouraging you to think about what you might want to bring to the altar of this evening. Because part of community, as I understand it, is that we share the good, the bad, the ugly, that we might support ourselves and support each other, and particularly support the courage of meeting shame. Right? And the false belief that everybody else is feeling good and I'm feeling bad. So I'm not going to say I'm feeling bad because, everybody here is grown and capable. So I invite you to bring what you will to the altar so that we might support each other in holding what is for you right now or what you want right now. You can ask for prayer. Life is hard. So I'm going to stop talking and invite you to come off mic, if you will. What happens if two people start talking at the same time? This is a mindful question that have, had people hesitating for many minutes. Nothing will happen. That's what's going to happen. Nothing will happen. Somebody's going to speak first, and then the other person going to speak later. That's what's going to happen. Okay.
Well, I just have to say, cool earrings. They are so cool. Do they match your tutu?
I do have a tutu. I don't have it on right now, but I'm about that tutu life. So, yes.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Right. Well, I'm bringing to the altar that I'm just tired. Like, when I go out in the world, it's like, it's so exhausting to I'm constantly like that voice, like, why did you say that? You should say this. Why did you? It's like, it's so tiring. I come home and I just lie on the couch and watch Netflix, and I'm like, how do I even like live a life where I don't have this enemy in my head telling me I'm shit? So, um, yeah, that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
I bring to the altar tonight a reminder that all that arises in me, it's a reminder of what arises in all of us. So the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, if I can understand and have intimate relationship with all that arises, it brings in compassion for all that arises in others. So that when the stuff arises, and maybe it kind of comes out of other sentient beings, then the part of me that has experienced that doesn't have to go with the disgust and revulsion and the pushing away, because if I have already embraced those things, then I'm not going to look at another person's arising as less than or somehow not good enough for my presence, because I've made friends with and I've had a lifetime conversation for years and years and years of deep, intimate connection with the most difficult, intense, unwanted. How do I shift the unwanted to the welcome in me, so that when it comes out of another sentient being, I can welcome it also and stand there with them and be with them, instead of wanting to run away or play dead or put up my dukes and fight. I was reminded of that when I was reading some things by Thich Nhat Hanh today. The first noble truth is not that life is suffering. It can be languaged as an invitation to understand suffering. In my words, get intimate with all that arises, all of it. It's like, why avoid, why distract, why do whatever, instead of learning how to be with it and keep my seat. That's what I got. It's a nice reminder. I had a nice reminder today.
Thank you.
Eddie bowing in. So I would like to put on the altar a psychiatrist visit that I had yesterday morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning, which for me is like an ungodly hour. So it was double torture. It was like, I don't know, Hungry Ghost Hell Realms. And not only did I have one psychiatrist on the telehealth, I had, I don't know, 6 or 7. It's USF is a teaching college for residents. So it was having 7 or 8 psychiatrists on screen with me. And I'm like, I guess this is good. I get all these brains working together. So it didn't kind of work out that way. I got kind of a cookie cutter response to my request. So I guess this will kind of play out as it plays out, but mental health in this country is just not served by so many different elements of it. So I guess I put my mental health on the altar as well. So thank you, guys.
Astrid, I want to honor your silence and also bring your name in the space. Ayesha bowing in, and I'm bringing into the altar hard-headedness because I went out in this heat and thought I had calibrated correctly. It was this morning. I didn't think it was that bad. And as Mama used to say, a hard head makes a soft butt. So I spent the rest of the day on the couch sipping water, and just being aware that I'm just gonna do what I want to do. Why do we suffer? Why do I suffer? I suffered because I do not want to be with what is. It was too damn hot, but I wanted to pull some weeds because I was feeling garden shame, and just smile about it and say, yeah, and grateful that a cool room and cool water was waiting for me, and I had the privilege of resting. So just putting laughter on the altar, and and bringing in the laughter of all us knuckleheads that do shit that we shouldn't be doing. So Ayesha bowing in.
Master Brian. I apologize. I had a neighbor, very distressed neighbor, just come to the door to ask for my help in the form of alcohol. So I'm just putting on the altar all the troubled souls in my building, many of whom it feels like sort of soul sickness. Feels a bit contagious, actually. Not in terms of myself, but just kind of, just people influencing other people. So I just want to put all the people in my building who are suffering right now in mind and body, and and just kind of also putting myself on the altar to just kind of ask for the discernment around boundaries and responsibility and support. Just bowing out.
Okay, well, let's play some music and then maybe exploring dying into change and then some wisdom sharing. So Eddie, if you can put us on pause. All right, so what I would like to share, the subject of this was dying into change. And if you saw the picture, it's one of the queens doing what's called a dead drop, something like it called that a dip. But anyway, you're falling, but you fall in a fabulous, extra way. And I'm always curious because we're all falling, right? That's what the remembrances are for me, right? We gonna be aging. We gonna be falling ill. We gonna be falling into a crematorium, a crypt or something. We gonna be falling into impermanence. And we're gonna be falling into consequences of choices. We always falling. And we're going into a severe storm here. I hope I can stay with y'all, but we'll see. We're going to be all right because we got to practice. And we know about impermanence. And so as things change, and Bhumi Sparsha. You know, it speaks to me how unwelcome, uncurated change is so different from the change that will support the story of how good my practice is, you know. So, you know, it's like, yes, the 5 impermanence. Yesterday, you know, I wasn't feeling great. Today, it's okay. As opposed to yesterday, you know, everything didn't hurt, and today my body is on fire. You know, that's a different kind of being with what is. And when I think about change, and it's always an opportunity to meet fear, always an opportunity to realize that thing I was holding on to was air. It was always there. You know, whether it was this person that wasn't going to change, or the weather that wasn't going to change, or something. But how to meet that, how to die into the change. Take you know, us letter people offer so much to the world, and the queens, that dip, that death drop, you know, I'm falling. But the gift of the Dharma is, okay, I know my ass is falling, but what is the gift of that? How can I make that fabulous? How can I meet change not as who did it? Did I do it? Did they do it? Did somebody do it? Did I fall short? If I had done better, would something stay the same? If they had done better? It is through this, I believe, that I've contacted that spaciousness that we often talk about in these spaces, right? We talk about spaciousness. But what is it when it's not grounded into something? When I'm just out here unmoored, you know, I thought I had it, you know, that was the delusion, right? I thought I had it. I just saw Oppenheimer, you know. I thought, you know, I had it, you know, our minds are telling us stuff that's not true, because, you know, it's just, from an evolutionary point of view, it wouldn't be helpful to see stuff as it really is, right? But the Dharma says, no, I don't want you to go crazy, but I do want you to realize that you're grabbing air, baby. You know. So when inevitably life, communities change, what can be the drop? How can drop into the invitation of that, as Allison wrote, right? That's what the practice is for me. Always an invitation to be with what is. The real struggle of being born in this world, and particularly in this particular culture at this particular moment. There's whole institutions that support us in not being with what is. Which is a rotten thing to do to a being. And then we're going to criticize ourselves because we're aware that something's not right. But then the outside is telling us, no, it's you. It's you. We have so much clarity in this path, and yet I watch us struggle so mightily. We keep reading books and going to retreats. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And can we fall into ourselves and be with what is? this is not an invitation. The younger, more militant me, she was wearing a black leather jacket, pleather. I couldn't afford leather. And a tambourine, at a different points, white people were the devil and the police were pigs. And then men, testosterone was toxic. And then, straight people was this and that. And the gift of my life is that I have actually done all the shit that I used to be shady about, And the Dharma allowed me to connect to that in a way that's shameless. And nothing requires shamelessness more than falling. And that's why I love the queens. It's like, okay, I am going to fall, and I'm going to fall beautifully and fabulously and shamelessly. And in that fall, find beauty and truth. My ass gonna hit the floor. There's no way out of that. There may be some pain involved. The girls like to pretend like, ooh, I did it. Sometimes it looks like it's a beautiful dance move. And sometimes it looks like, okay, I didn't mean to do that, but I went down cute. What this change at Bhumi Sparsha speaks to about for me is why are we doing all this? What was the intention? And is the intention gone because there's change? Are we going to go on a spiritual intentional strike now because stuff has changed? It's like little kids, right? I'm gonna hold my breath. Well, okay, baby, all right, hold your breath until you get what you want. All right, you can. I don't think you're gonna be able to do it long, but try it out, see what happens. That's the invitation of the practice. I think the invitation of the practice is always to get us to try it out. Come out of the library, the cooking library, looking at all the pictures, creating these fake ass menus, coco vin, pieces of meat that we can't afford or can't cook anyway, even if we can afford it. Start creating and just say, okay, let me go in here. I can be mad that stuff changed. It's changing. This is not an invitation to spiritually bypass. You can throw a couple of FUs around. You can spend some time deconstructing shit. But the invitation is do that. But what is the intention? One of the things I rock with Lama Rod about is he talks a lot about intention. Why are we doing this? And I want to bring up the dictionary piece because, the first definition was, intention is a goal, right? And similarly, I'm going to get something. I'm going to be awakened, particularly if this particular person is here with me. See, they like a rabbit's foot of Dharma, and I'm going to rub them and rub up against the teachings, and I'm going to get that goal, like vitamin, if I do my vitamins right, if I exercise, and I was surprised to learn that, because I initially start looking at, what's intention? I was looking for something deep, but the English dictionary said, no, it's just an aim, a purpose, a scheme. Are we scheming? I like, this is a medical definition. the healing process of a wound. That's an intention. I like that. Because for me, I came in here in this space and all the spaces to heal the wounds of enslavement. Not just the historical enslavement of my lineage, but the enslavement of that we're fed coming into this world. You know, Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, said that, you know, in the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, he said, you can be trained in such a way that if there is no back door in the South, Black people couldn't go to the front door. And he said, you can be trained so good that you'll go to the back door, and if there is no back door, you will build one. And that's how deep our training is. I believe that's why I press so hard on the community thing, because by myself and by ourselves, we be going making back doors into self-harm. You know, I'm not shit. You know, I'm always late. I'm always wrong. I'm always sorry. But if intention is the healing, then can change throw me off of that? Does somebody else have my medicine? And I'm not saying that this is an individual activity, but I am saying that there is a need to get on the healing road, the freedom road. And I am not in no way dismissing how difficult that is. It seemed to me in my youth, I had like to push past a lot of this stuff. I had that youthful energy to, you know, it's not that I felt the enslavement wasn't there, but I could build up some speed and move through it. But as the walls got thicker, it took more and more energy. And I got tired. And at times I laid down. And then I would start reaching, not for help, but for somebody, something to get me free, to do my healing for me. So what is our intention in coming to this community? And does it have to change as the community changes? Do you believe that someone is in charge? And if I can't get to them, I can't stay true to my intention to heal, to be free. You know, life is, I don't need to tell y'all, but I say life is hard. I mean, even if you're living in a house or a basement or wherever you're living, you know, maybe the body's feeling okay right now. Maybe it's hurting. Maybe the mind is supporting joy. Maybe it's supporting pain. But however it is, it's hard. And I believe that we are on this path because Spirit has led us into a way that we might live while we live and experience joy. And the paradox of this path, and we say this stuff all the time, but then it happened and we go crazy. The spaciousness provided by non-attachment. When I first ran into these teachings, I thought, oh, okay, this is Est. For those of you who are too young, Est was one of these West Coast things, was, Ayn Rand on steroids. I will overcome. And I'm not thinking about, and I thought, oh, is that what these people doing? This is Est. This is, I am alone, and and that's not what it means at all. It means that I see myself and I see you, and we both err. And so we can make it pretty now. I'm not talking about, y'all know me. Hey, earrings as big as dishes. I'd be decorating this Christmas tree, But I have found the greatest joy to let go. And I'm gonna care about what I can care about, and not feel a kind of way, And that protects my love and my heart, and it has expanded me. It's like, it's all right. I wear tutus. I was at the bowling alley with the tutu, okay? And, people had questions. And that's okay for them to have questions, but see, I can let them have questions because I was clear on me. I don't insist. Nobody wear tutus. I don't. Although I do, I'm in charge of the tutu liberation movement, if you want to hit me up outside of this, But to just let go, also known as not giving a fuck. I always pivot to Harriet Tubman because she's such a bodhisattva to me. And I think, we do her such a disservice when we make her an action hero, Because everybody that went on that freedom road didn't live until their 90s and get a young husband. And, the government never gave her money, but she made it. She was okay, as far as I know. But they don't talk about this little woman that started out with her two brothers, and they got so far and they said, we ain't going no far. And I can't imagine, it's scary enough. But your people who's supposed to, your brothers, and they said, we don't want to go any further with you. She took them back. She didn't say, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all the most horrible people in the world. She said, okay. She took them back. And then I'm the same height as she is, I think. And that means we're both little women. And she took herself, I've been to where she was, it's dark. She's having, Spirit is visiting her through the portal of seizures. She's out there in the muck, in the mud. We struggling because that's what happens on the freedom road. We struggling and we know we struggling, which makes it uncomfortable for people who are struggling and is really, really working hard to say nothing is wrong, nothing is wrong, nothing is wrong. But she just put one foot in front of the other, and there was a lot of folks, and some of them didn't make it to Pennsylvania. They didn't make it to be a spy and do a lot of them maybe have died on the road. But the point is, they died on that healing journey. one of the gifts of this community, and I guess the teachings that come out of the Tibetan, and also my own lineage, is call for help. The paradox is to know that it's just what it is. It's just phenomenal. And see, we can have all the things. That's what Dharma says. You can have all the things. You can be loving and say, yeah, I'm going to love you from 6,000 miles away. You stay over on that coast. I'm going to be on this coast. I'm going to wish you the best. We don't, because we got choice. We have choice. And we can say, help. The interesting thing is, I have learned to do that more because I have let go of the grasping. It's so funny, right? Because this is supposed to be help. At least that's how I used to envision help. But I've come to understand it's help. Mama used to say, you don't know where your blessing's going to come from. You don't know where your help's going to come from. Some of y'all have lent money, let people stay at your house, done all the good, and they've spit in your face. And then some stranger come through and remind you that you are a precious and beautiful being. Help. Not you help me. This particular, I'm looking at you, Lama. I'm looking at you, teacher. I'm looking at help. I'm all jacked up. I'm heartbroken because, I thought this community was going to be a kind of way, and it looks like it's going to change. We can fall into that, and we can ask for help to be with our fall. Because for real, we all falling together. That's what we do. Choosing to be in community with people is one of the hardest and revolutionary things you can do. Be with them in non-loving attachment. In non-attachment that is loving and caring. Because I don't know which finger is holding this up. Could be the little finger. Could be one, could be all. That's how it goes. But to develop the capacity to be heartbroken, to fall in beauty and joy, and ask for help. Not in the, let's think about this. I just want to say that because I'm watching folks anyway. We're thinking about it. We're doing a lot of thinking. We're thinking. I don't know if that's going to do anything. That's not my lane, clearly. But I'm encouraging the fall and the call at this moment, not for a plan, but maybe the question, do I want to be in community? There's no shame in saying, not now. I want to do some stuff and do what I don't, In the fullness of time, that's what my elders used to teach. One of the tricks, that's why we're not late, but one of the con artist thing is you got to make this decision because this is your last chance. So I need you to move quick. Why? Why? So that's what I wanted to share. And affirming that we're going to be all right, that we are all right. And we're going to be all right here. We're going to be all right there. We're going to be all right some kind of way. Those of us that have connected are going to be connecting. Because there is this thing called phones. But I know for some people that's a thing. I get it. But that's the invitation. So I hope that offering was of some support as we move into the let's see. Ayesha bowing out. And now that I've shared that, please share your own wisdom about what is going on with you, and perhaps with particular focus on being with this, I don't know. Ayesha bowing out.
Allison bowing in. When I was in the pool this morning, and I've been trying to swim every morning since the beginning of June. So when my body hits the water, something inside me opens. And it's not like me having a goal that it opens. I just hit the water and underneath, and something inside of me opens. And this morning, what came in was this really funny conversation I had with my local abbot at my monastery temple, who was working with a metaphor that is constipation. So I was telling him about this rumor that is going around the world about how some kinds of meditation, especially the ones that have sort of become secularized, that they end up helping the study participants. What the study participants report after they meditate is that they have, quote unquote, let go of, for example, their discomfort, and their uncomfortable feelings around, like, repairing their ruptured relationships. And so they use meditation. Sounds like it's not really for healing. It's kind of localized to their self. So I was talking to my abbot about how some of the children had been receiving letters in times past, and maybe even still, about the dangers of loving kindness meditation, because some groups out there, they pretty much do the loving part for themselves. Like, they inhale and it'll be like self-love and self-compassion, and then they will stay there. And that's, like, for me, it's like inhaling and holding my breath, and then not radiating out kindness with the exhale. So when I told my abbot that, he talked about constipation, and I appreciate that my abbot's talking to me about spiritual constipation. And I was because I was literally underwater at this point when all this came in. And I thought about the movie from a while ago called Waiting to Exhale, and how powerful the metaphor that was for me when I was a much younger body. And how something in me, even many, many moons ago, could viscerally identify with this metaphor, waiting to exhale. And at that point, waited my whole life to exhale. And then I got myself into a marriage where I waited another 20 something years, and I didn't realize until after he left, and I literally was able to exhale, that I had been holding my breath for probably the better part of 25 years. And the movie came back. I just rewatched that movie within the past 6 months. And I remembered why I identified with that movie. And yesterday I read some Thich Nhat Hanh about compost and the blessings of basically a view that everything is rebirth. There really isn't a huge distinction between birth, life, and quote unquote death. So I pretty much calling everything rebirth now. And compost. And composting the stuff that we let go of, it becomes compost to grow more things. And that includes joy. Like I can see the joy, I can see it come and go with non-attachment. I'm not grasping for it, I'm not hooking on to it, I'm not clinging. I let it go. I can let go of suffering in the exact same way that I can let joy go, and I'm free. Compost, because my joy will grow suffering, and my suffering grows joy, and it just goes back and forth, and it moves and grooves, and it doesn't stop. And for me to be able to move and groove with it, that's kind of like, I think it's like my why, like, why am I here? To learn how to move and groove, and to be flexible, and to be fluid, to be like a river. And yeah, that's what happens when I go into water in the morning and I'm underneath the water and something inside me opens. This is what happens. So even if I'm even if I only have time to be in the pool for like 15 minutes in the morning, something inside of me will get me out of bed, get me in my suit, walk down the road, and I'm in it. And sometimes that water is not that warm. Sorry, wildfires. And I'm still there, because when I open, the stuff comes in. Allison, going out.
long as you get here, you're never late. And when you're not here, you're still here.
Amanda bowing in. Um, it's like when it happened, my initial reaction was like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were going to do that or whatever. And so like for me, it's about like trust, I guess. Like who do you trust? Like, yeah, everybody's going to go away. Everybody's going to disappoint you. Everybody's going to let you down. So yeah, like why am I doing it? And like for me, I feel like I'm very much on the margins, like, and with spiritual practice that like for me, it's like it hits the core of like everything, all those attachment issues and trust problems, because that's the most tender part of yourself. And I don't know, I feel like I had this idealized view of what spirituality was, and then I got hurt, and then I decided, well, I'm just not gonna, I'll just stay on the margins, and I'm not really gonna, believe in anything. And That's a very painful way to live, very painful way to live. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I can't leave. Like, there's nowhere to go, really. So that's all. Thank you.
Master Diane. Yeah, I was just thinking about another space, the Boomy space where recently where we were all kind of, well, I was just talking about being in a space of like self-persecution, which is what it felt like. And kind of thinking, oh, I can't possibly show up in that state. And just kind of, yeah, just not even feeling like community was accessible in that moment. And then thinking, am I gonna make it? Like having those like weird thoughts of, am I gonna really make it? And then of course, the next day I felt different. But yeah, so it's kind of that yeah, just kind of, I think everyone kind of recognized the influence of the culture and sort of having to show up already dressed and ready to go and all shiny, right? And yeah, I was just so appreciative that you're all bringing our sort of not so polished selves, and that was very it was very important moment for me. I think it's a very important space to be in. Yeah, and it just felt very yeah, just kind of authentic, and it's okay. But yeah, it all in the moment it all seems very inaccessible, and yeah, just I guess my inquiry for myself is just how can I feel, how can I sort of find the accessibility in those moments to connection and community. Like where's the cracks I could get, like through which I can find, people when I'm in that state. Yeah, because it's kind of, for me, it's just not okay to be there. It's not okay to be in that, in those tough places. So yeah. And like, where does the permission come from for me? Yeah. And it did feel like permission in that space. So I was very grateful for that. Yeah, and the other thing was sort of, I've been hearing this thing about trusting your own wisdom. And, in Mama Ayesha, we were talking about going out there and seeking, maybe it's this thing, maybe it's that course and that retreat and that book. Maybe that's going to be the thing. And everything's outside of, the wisdom is outside of us, And I heard another teacher talking about trusting your own wisdom. I was just like, what are you talking about? Just my wisdom? God, no. Like, surely the guru, whoever the Buddha, is the keeper of the wisdom. Maybe we'll get a few drops in our lifetime, And she's like, yeah, even if you have a teacher, like, you got to rely on your own, your own intuition, your own sensing, your own, knowing. And I'm like, oh, wow, what a concept. you know, and it's like having like, she talks about conflicts with teachers and like having to stand your ground. I'm like, what? You can do that? You could like have a, you know, you can have a difference of opinion with a teacher with more experience and, you know, more kind of so-called spirituality. It's like, wow, that was like revolutionary. So yeah. So I'm just, yeah, just kind of exploring this idea of like trusting myself. Like, yeah, what does that look like even? What does it feel like? You know? So yeah, thank you. After going out.
We have a few more moments, a few more colonizer minutes. As y'all know, I don't respect the colonizer or the colonizer time, but I respect those of us that live within that. So something is on your heart. We got you. You're not gonna tell on you. You're not gonna tell your supervisor, an internal supervisor.
Laura bowing in. And of course, since I had the time wrong, I missed a lot of the good stuff, and I missed some of the sharing, but given the theme for today, I'll just say that as it happens, I've been working a lot with dying in my practice, sort of as a way of trying to come into a new relationship with my internal Nazi that's always trying to goose step all over me, so that there are difficulties in life that I face just like everybody else, my own personal challenges are, and dying to those all the time, like, okay, so dying to what's difficult, dying to what's changing that I didn't want to change, dying to what hasn't changed, even though I wanted it to, and dying to the way that I've been dealing. Like, Oh yeah, yesterday I was all over myself because I couldn't let that go. So dying to that, dying to all the shit. It's like, okay, let's just die to some more stuff. Because I don't remember my biology, right? But how often do we shed our skin like constantly? So I'm not even like, my envelope isn't even the same envelope that was here a couple of days ago, right? So like, why should I pretend like anything else should be the same? So just working with that a lot. Working with that. It's like, let's just make this part of my everyday. Just die to as much stuff as I can. Create some clean working space. So, and so dying isn't my practice just now. Thank you all.
I just want to share just a bit about trust, because at times, I was always looking for the workaround and the certainty and the safety. And so I'll build a brick wall, and only the people that really care about me will go through the machinations. See, here's the thing. There's some unpleasant people that love climbing walls. So always, I was always about that life. And the portal of which I had entered, the Dharma, the Jodo Shinshu path, talks about true entrusting. And the true entrusting is not in people. It's in my own love, my own heart. I mean, yes, Amida Buddha is the central Buddha, but as I have trusted myself more, I trust life. I trust I still got teeth in my mouth. Whoop, whoop, and they mine too. I mean, I didn't have to pay for them yet. Just saying. Because I always was looking for a story that would support my lack of trust. And people give you lots of reasons to work on that book, why I don't trust people book. And what I discovered is that people gonna do what people gonna do. Because I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And I'm presenting here nice and sweet, but I got, I spent the because I tried to give myself almost heat stroke. There's emails I didn't look at and stuff like that. And it didn't have to be heat stroke, because sometimes I don't even do it. So, but I trust that I am worthy of my preciousness. And now this is what I've discovered. There are people that love wall climbing, but you know what dark people don't like? The light. And I don't mean happy, because what you see is the fact that, I'm so glad that I finally took a shower, because it was funky in here. But what I'm talking about, I don't mean happy, but that connection that even when I'm thinking, nothing is wrong with me. And if somebody had come by, or I'd had a stroke, and the people would come up here and go, they put an ambulance, but she smelled, okay. Because I'm precious. But I have discovered that that's the true entrusting. And what it has allowed me to do is allowed me to give my attention to Astrid's smile, to Laura's crankiness, cranky love, to Allison's deep thoughts, and that also contains realness in it, to Eddie, hanging out, the bravery to bring his testosterone in this space unashamedly, He not trying to pass, you know. Yeah, I got a beard and everything. That's the gift I have found. And I'd invite all of us to celebrate and connect to our preciousness. And perhaps, and by the way, there are people that's probably talking about me now. That old bitch, don't she know how old she is? You know, real talk, you know. Every once in a while they check in with me and I go, yeah, right? The big ass earrings. But I think the Dharma wants us to experience delight, that we're alive up in here. And that in this moment, we have found each other on this freedom road. And heartbreak ain't going nowhere, just like, you know, global warming, you know, the ice caps will melt one time, you know. But in the meantime, the Yala Van Zandt had a whole book. In the meantime, that's what the Dharma is saying. What can you do to be free? What can you do to connect to your preciousness? You know, that's what because as I've connected to my preciousness, I can be with more people and discover beautiful folks like y'all. So just inviting that contemplation. You know, don't be listening to, I know I've said it, but in the Quran, the waswasil, the whisperer. And the Muslims say that on the day of judgment, people going to bring their raggedy asses up, their life of torture and what they did and what was done to them. And they're going to say, the shaitan did this to me. And the shaitan's going to say, I did but whisper. I think the Dharma says we don't have to listen. We don't have to listen to that internal Nazi, you know, to that, why didn't I? You know, I did it, you know, and I've done some raunchy stuff. You know, fortunately there was no YouTube and cameras. But, you know, if somebody rolls up in Boomy Sparsha and sees me and say, that bitch, what she did? Don't say, Ayesha did. Just say, I don't think she's doing it anymore, but I could be wrong. You know, she don't do it around me. Anyway, I love y'all. Let's do a merit. May the merit of our practice, our choice to be together, to be on this freedom road, encourage ourselves and each other to know that we are not alone, to know that nothing is wrong with us. And may we invite that knowing into all realms, touching all beings, awakening us all to the fact that we are free and we are precious. Ashe, Amen. Namo Midabutsu, may it be so. And